Rumor has it somebody went to discipline a bunch of politicians. They were inadequately equipped.
What do politicians and diapers have in common? They need to be changed often and for the same reason.
Hey everybody, it's the Crackpot Farmer, and this is another episode of The Chill Pill. Last time, on the Wooden Spoon Part 1, I guess, we were talking about how discipline and a bit better upbringing of our children could help to improve our country, substantially. Now, I was sent a couple of very, very nicely worded messages and comments, making it clear to me that there are other ways besides wooden spoons to help educate and discipline children. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with this. I was just using the wooden spoon as a general reference because when it comes to discipline, everybody recognizes the wooden spoon. So one of these letters was written to me by a lady named Rowan. Now, she did an excellent job and was very articulate with getting her point across. She brought up a couple of very interesting conclusions and parallels that I wholeheartedly agree with and very much fit into the topic of what I'm trying to do here. So without trying to plagiarize, I will bring up some of the points she brought up. If I get her permission, I will put a copy of her letter in the description of the video because, well, it is awesome. So the first conclusion she drew is natural versus contrived control. Now, natural control, she says, is leading and guiding versus contrived control is coercion and manipulation and force. Now, Mr. Crackpot, somebody could argue that the relationship between the government and the citizens is very similar to that between a parent and their children. Well, yes, absolutely. That means that the natural and contrived control thing would also apply, wouldn't it? Well, yes, absolutely. See, the government should operate with natural control, where it has trust and it is respected by its citizens, and therefore when it makes requests of its citizens like, hey, please don't be going super fast on the highway, that's not real safe, the citizens go, yes, okay, we trust your judgment on that. But instead we have a government who is leading through contrived control. And it's more of like a, you better not do this or there'll be massive consequences. And the citizens are going, we don't trust you. You've been lying to us too much. I don't agree with those mandates. I think that this is a load of hoo-ha. And people stand up against our government and we have rebellious children. Another one of the parallels that this lady came across was that force is just failed natural power. So if we look back at Ottawa, when the government decided it had to use a whole pile of force to evict a bunch of peaceful protesters they refused to engage with, they had failed natural control. So they had to revert to force because that was the only thing left in their toolbox. So what point am I trying to make here? Well, too often in today's society, we go after what happened, not why it happened. So this nice little parallel that has been drawn by Rowan here really helps to clearly illustrate why our government is acting the way they're acting. They are an out-of-control parent who's ruling by force and tyranny instead of through respect and leadership and guidance as they should be. They've lost the respect and the trust of their people, and therefore they're having to revert to using their force in order to exact their will upon their children, us, we the people. So if we have a child who is rebelling against their parents, such as the people did to the government here the past, couple months now, I guess, what it is to the parent, or should be to the parent, it should be an indicator that there is a problem with their parenting. It's an indicator that they've lost their natural control and they need to reevaluate what they're doing because they've lost the trust and respect of their children who are now rebelling against them. Now, the problem with our government is they are refusing to acknowledge that they may have made a mistake or that they have a problem. Instead, they're just reverting back to their contrived control with force. If you take a rebellious child, if you don't fix your parenting problem, does the rebellion get better or worse? It gets worse. The child gets older, the child gets stronger, the child understands more things about life and the world and gets more independent, and soon they walk away from their parents. So how do we fix this problem? Well, as with most problems, it's really easy to get into and cause an issue, but it's kind of difficult to solve it. So this one has been generations upon generations in the making. We've got people who've been in government for many years. We even have a son whose father was also a terrible prime minister. Kind of like it runs in the family. So we've got an awful lot of work to do because we have generations of crap we've got to get cleared out, which means we have to have generations of good to counter it. So this comes right back around to discipline. If we raise a generation of idiots who are entitled and selfish and act like brats and don't care or consider other people with their actions and don't consider the long-term consequences to themselves of their own actions, if we do that for a generation or two, we end up in a bit of a pickle. And in fact, we're in a pickle. Because those kind of people are now in our government. We have to start with a good generation on the bottom that cares for themselves, cares for their neighbors, understands long-term consequences of their actions, they respect other people, respect other opinions, and are willing to do the difficult things because they're right, not because they're easy. So hopefully this wraps up the wooden spoon portion of the Chill Pill. Parents, please raise your children nicely. Please raise them to be responsible, considerate, caring individuals because one day them and their generation will be in charge of this country. And Lord knows we can't afford to keep going downhill. We've got to get out from under this mess, and that starts with good people.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Chill Pill. If you want to see more videos like this, there's a playlist on our channel that contains all of my gab on political things. If you want to see some farming stuff and you're new to farming, there's a playlist on there for you as well called Farming in 5 Minutes or Less. If you're interested in watching our journey into regenerative and sustainable farming practices, stay tuned this coming farming season to see the steps that we're taking to try to make our farm a better place.